Hello everyone, and welcome back to my ruminations on Arpeggio of Blue Steel. I'm gonna cut out the before and after impressions thing before. It didn't really pan out, and this is a pre-planned show anyhow rather than a live thing, so let's just get straight to it, shall we? Our review today is Episode 2, Into the Storm. This episode is a pure battle from start to finish, the classic tale of the submarine and the surface warship trying to outthink and outfight each other. It plays to the strengths of the series while avoiding many of its pitfalls, and is thus, in my opinion, a fine chunk of programming. I have to respect anything that understands its audience, and knows what they're here for. Speaking in broad terms, we're here for ship girls, and ship girls fighting, and we've got that today. So let's dive right in. We start in the midst of a tropical storm. It's raining. Bombs, in this case. One of Iona's decoy drones gets absolutely obliterated, and we rise above the waves to the fleet of Fog's heavy cruiser Takao gloating, while Cylon-esque ominous classical music plays us in. Like the end of episode 1, Takao takes this opportunity to gloat like she's cutting a wrestling promo. The quick and effective teaser before the opening introduces the boss of this episode and helps to build her menace, which is something Arpeggio does very effectively. And before we go any further, I should probably address something. The holographic interfaces, like the little beehive barriers, the AIs with their little mental model projections, I absolutely love it. The aesthetic for this series is, and the art style in general is fantastic. The animation quality is great. But the design, that sort of holographic interface in particular, is something I've always been a huge fan of. It's that kind of, we were introduced to it in Mass Effect 1, and obviously all the games had that, but Mass Effect 1 and 2 featured the holo interface thing most prominently. I love that. I think it's a great look. It's futury. I think it's going to remain a very futury look for a while. I think it'll be a while before that kind of goes out of style. The same way Star Trek The Next Generation introduced the little flat screen LCD displays that the Federation uses, that even to the present day look decently futury, even though it was like, what, the 80s when they did that? In the same way, I think the holographic interfaces are going to age well, and overall, things just look great. And one advantage this show has over Kankole is, in Kankole, the ship girls are humanoid. In this one, you have the girl and the ship, and so during battle and action scenes, which are the most taxing on your animation, Arpeggio can have ships, so they can do more of a CGI on the ships without it obviously looking super fake, or you don't mind because obviously that's not a person, that's a boat. Whereas with Kankole, to certain eyes, it can look weird to have the humanoids with CGI. So it's something that Arpeggio has going for it that I really like. You know, come to think of it, it's surprising more fog ships haven't cracked sooner. AIs as warships, told to sit there and patrol and do literally nothing unless an enemy happens by, which they will effortlessly defeat because they're OP, and then go back to doing literally nothing. What a life. A human would die of boredom from that. So our heroes are at their lowest point, literally but not figuratively, trying to figure out how to literally get past Takao and her literally overpowered figurative plot-seeking lasers. As we gather, this huge storm hasn't affected Takao's ability to predict the decoys, not really. It's hampered it a little, but not much. I'm assuming she's using sonar. Well, in reality, it's the Fog's new plot radars, guaranteed to work at any range as long as the enemy isn't the main protagonist. Unlucky for her. You know, I hear the Galactic Empire bought their weaponry from the same source. Stormtroopers always get such a bad rap as a fighting force, but look at any battle they're in that isn't against the main characters. This is your regularly scheduled reminder that fog ships are goddamn overpowered. Here's the stat cards for Iona and Takao. I'll leave them both up long enough for you to pause the video if you like and take a look. 90 knots. That's as many as 9 tens, and that's terrible. Credit where it's due, Sonar Girl immediately brings up the thing that popped into my mind when we saw the map screen. Why don't we just go around Takao? Especially since the range of her detection and the range of the storm are not quite equal. Gunzo has the perfectly reasonable response. Fighting is better than running at this point. They can't just slip past through the storm, as was clearly demonstrated. They could just go around, but Takao would just follow. She doesn't really have anything else to be doing with her time. And they're headed for the port of Yokosuka, so if they don't deal with Takao now, they could very well just drag her into a populated area. So far as we learn, the fleet of fog only attacks ships and planes headed out for the open as part of their global blockade, but if their target, an enemy that is by itself deadly and also possesses assets critical to the war, should go to ground, there's no reason to think Takao won't just blow the entire city apart. Due to my mercenary comment last time, I will also mention the crew is specifically horrified by the idea of this happening, and wants to avoid it with a fight rather than trying to save their skins. So hey, I usually have a thing about needing characters I'm supposed to like to be likable. This is good. Also, that point's gonna come up sooner than we think. But for now, Gunzo reveals to the audience, Iona's memories aren't necessarily all gone, because they know about something called the Admiralty Code. That's the highest authority amongst the fog, and it forbids them from directly attacking land targets. Why? Lucky thing for us though. But the fog doesn't exactly care about collateral damage, let's put it that way. Nagara was probably going to level the entire space center, despite it being on the land. And just to top it off, that storm will eventually dissipate, and Takao will just see them anyhow. Which also contributes to why they don't go around. Another ship on a clear day would just spot them. So, you got your ticking clock. The time's come to stand and fight. Or at the least, fight in the way submarines do best. Wait for the moment to strike, and apply crippling force before you can suffer retaliation. This is why I think the choice to make the protagonist ship a submarine makes a lot of sense. Drama comes from tension about what's going to happen, and in battles that's basically, are the good guys going to win a lot of the time? A common way to put that into doubt is to build the bad guys as strong, which is something that I said Arpeggio does pretty well. And this is asymmetrical warfare. Takao is a heavy cruiser, built for a stand-up fight, pounding away with naval guns and all that stuff. Iona can't withstand that kind of stuff, despite being only half as big, so they've got to fight smart. And if Gunzo pulls it off, it thus presents him to us as a good tactician. As an aside, this is a good example of how you set up an awesome scene, or a whole awesome episode, in a way that makes total sense. So, right after I called him smart, Gunzo reveals his big plan. Surface the boat. It's not as dumb as it sounds. They're going up with the decoys to launch a surprise attack from the storm. Except Takao already knows about it. Iona insists that isn't possible, based on her specs. I guess we're all full of surprises today, right? They bring up the mental communication thing that fog ships use, and Iona admits that it isn't affected by distance or obstacles, which is a hell of a trick. However, all Takao can get from that is that Iona still exists. She can't actually track her, which is a hell of a trick in the other direction, so I guess we're even. It's a lot of setup for the battle, but answering the obvious questions is almost never a bad way to spend your running time. It eliminates so many problems. Another side, but for some reason this exact shot made me realize how fucking jealous I am of the Blue Steel fleet and their accommodations, even though they're going into battle for the fate of the world and stuff. Look at this. I'm jealous of this for like 10 different reasons. Sonar Girl here has even got custom logo earphones. This setting is basically after the apocalypse, but the actual show's aesthetic is clean, sci-fi, and futury, and I like it. Oh, by the way, Takao also knows which contact is the real one. Welp. I have to admit, normally it's the bad guy gloating about how he thinks you overestimate their chances. And it's the good guy pulling out the surprise. But Takao drank her coffee today or something. It also eliminates my issue with how you apparently can't track something's direction when you're receiving an active signal from it. You can, Iona's just wrong. I like that she isn't infallible. It again adds to the tension of battles. I'm hammering the point about tension and uncertainty home for later. Like that thing with the G-Man from the first episode, we'll see it. It'll come to fruition. Also, Takao is freaking gorgeous. Given all we see, it's not hard to see why she became the breakout character basically immediately. Hell, she's even on the Netflix menu thing rather than our actual leads. So where were we? Oh, right. It's a trap! So they load up torpedoes. Why did we need to be on the surface of the water to launch our torpedoes? And Takao charges up her spirit bomb thing. The show is doing a great job of making her look super intimidating, threatening, powerful. Despite being just a heavy cruiser, she's going to be a significant obstacle to overcome. She's going to fire her super laser the moment they hit the surface. So naturally, they sidestep, and it misses. Still shakes everybody about, including tossing Iona like a pinball on her little hollow rings. The response is clear and immediate. Fire everything! Followed by, run away! One is effective, the other not so much. Takao doesn't even notice she's being hit, by the way. She's far too busy being shocked that she could miss. I guess we really are all full of surprises today. Everyone's impressed that Gunzo knew to dodge, even though they weren't expecting an attack. I don't know. Seems pretty basic to me to assume the worst case when you're dealing with an enemy of this nature. I guess that's why the reveal of Takao being able to exceed her specs didn't feel like it demanded an explanation for me. I just kind of assume they can do almost anything. That's what I said one of the rules of the series was, right? I'm reminded of the remade Battlestar Galactica, and I really don't know how it took me this long to reference the show where humanity is pushed to the brink by a fleet of sexy killer robots. Anyhow, Adama and Tai are discussing a thing. Tai says something to the effect of, "It would take us weeks to search through this area." Adama's response is, "Assume they're better and faster. It'll take them days." So here we are at a bit of an impasse. Out of decoys, and Takao has proven she has abilities that exceed anything she should be able to do. Credit where it's due, too. Sonar Girl is on the ball about all this. In fact, all the crew is. That's kind of their thing. Aside from this guy. This guy's thing is an absolutely stupid mask. What's wrong with your face? Gunzo points out what specifically tipped him off, though. Takao kept her prow pointed directly towards them the entire time. As the weapons guy says, if the situation was reversed, they'd act like they didn't see her until the moment came to fire. In other words, Takao has no idea about the meaning of subtlety, and isn't just machine precise, but operates on machine thinking. That's a really dangerous weakness. Actually, the show's doing really good at answering the questions it naturally raises. That's what you need from a good plot. They even go back to Takao being able to see them, although again I wouldn't have trouble buying you could trace the direction of a single that's actively hitting you. However, Takao's abilities were above spec. So, Gunzo thinks she's not the only one giving them trouble. I love Iona's little mannerisms as she talks with the crew, by the way. It's a lot more to her than just the emotionless robotic girl thing. It adds some well-needed character and life, as do her little side interactions. So, looking at the display, it's pretty clear Takao had help, and that Sandy Hook was a false flag. In fact, based on that range, and the lack of more big glowy fuckers, they conclude the obvious. There's another submarine hiding in Takao's wake. This answers another question I haven't even brought up. Basically, why she didn't just fall Iona down, submerge, and keep shooting like that. Because you totally can when you're a fog ship, you just can do that. Or maybe surface ships can't use their weapons underwater. Well, either way, it wouldn't be viable because she'd toss away her trump card. Good writing hangs together like a sturdy suit of chainmail armor. Each link is solid, and you can't find any major breakpoints. If there are issues, it doesn't affect the stability of the whole thing, invalidate it, or bring it down. It's only now that I'm extrapolating like this that I can appreciate how smart and snappy the construction of everything is. It's not an overt show of cleverness. It's the kind of thing I might not notice just casually watching. But I'm stopping to take notes and screenshots every few seconds, so I've sure got time to overanalyze and appreciate things. So it's time to give Takao back a little surprise of our own. A thing they looted off a previous win against the battleship Hyuga. I wonder how that went down, given how much trouble they're having with a heavy cruiser. Anyhow, we'll see your giant fuck laser, and we'll raise you another one. Moonstone Cannon, fire! Actually, when Gunzo notices she has a mental model, he orders them to turn the cannon down enough to not totally obliterate her, just her little submarine friend. Pointless 2-second cut back to the G-Man being ominous because the big bad government. And, well, time to face the boss and admit you fucked it. After saying repeatedly how you won't end up like Hyuga, you ended up, I suspect, precisely the same as Hyuga. You underestimated I-401, and you got yourself an ass whooping. Also, you can't expect me to pass up commenting on the fact that Congo is having tea time. I considered putting up pictures of the Kankole versions of named ships wherever possible for this series, you know. I realized that bit would get old before it even began. I almost did it anyhow. You must allow me that one, come on. Really, Congo's taken this pretty well. No great displays of villainous rage. Takao's more upset than anything for having her weapons lock and having to retreat. She swears revenge and that she'll get another title shot at SummerSlam. Iona's got a lot on her mind, quite understandably so. Turning against her own kind, pondering on the nature of everything, why Gunzo did what he did, which is actually what Takao's got to mull over as well. she's got some things to think about. Like why Gunzo didn't take the chance to kill her. Her worldview is kind of shaken. She experiences a bit of, well, she's considering new things about the world, and whether she wants Gunzo inside of her. You know exactly what I meant. Shut up. Really, of all the characters, Takao gets a pretty interesting arc, and that starts right here. Rather than making us sit through her as a gloating villain for several more episodes, she's immediately jolted from her worldview and made to reanalyze things. I appreciate when a work doesn't make us wait for an obviously upcoming twist or change and just goes for it. I told you the show was trying to make us think, and in this episode it did, and a good effect. If it sounds like I'm basically glowing over this, that's only because I am. With that, the ED sequence plays us out to close another good episode. I'd even rate this higher than the first one, really. The first one did its job, no doubt, introducing the world, and it set up our situation with enough action to keep things going. This episode showed a focus, a tightness of writing and direction, and a clear sign that they understand what they're working with on this show, and they understand the possibilities of their own premise. I believe personal enjoyment should be a part of any review, especially in this series where I had a lot of conflicting feelings about things. Given that, I enjoyed this episode a lot and can easily recommend it. We're starting off on a great foot so far, Arpeggio. Next time, we'll arrive at the fortress harbor of Yokosuka, where my tone is probably set to change a lot. See you then. Thanks for watching, and I hope to hear your opinions on the episode or how I'm doing in general down in the comments below.